Hello there everyone, I hope my video finds you well. This is Miss Khalfi, your teacher of methodology of research for this year. In this short video or audio, if I may say, I'll be trying to guide you throughout the revision for your exam in research methodology. And in this time, we are going to discuss the research questions, how to formulate them, types of research questions, and also discuss two important aspects in conducting the research process, namely the significance of the research and the purpose of the research. Starting with the research question, it is important sometimes to pay attention to the way you are formulating your questions, your sentences, or your texts in general. You have to be able to read and be able to objectively criticize yourself as a reader of your own material. Always pay attention to the fact that the reader of your text or of your question or statement even does not know many things. They cannot understand you as you think they should. So you have to always be simple, clear, concise, and precise. So following, of course, the slides, as I am unable to project the PowerPoint presentations due to time shortage, unfortunately, I need you to follow the slides from the PDF. Defining the research question, of course, it is known to be a question that the study designs in order to be answered. It is a question that you, as a researcher, propose to answering through, of course, data collection. Sometimes you can formulate research questions that are simple and very basic because you are not fully aware of the importance of your research and you are not yet into the analysis of data, etc. So in the proposal, for example, that you will be presenting, you will, of course, construct basic and simple types of research questions that will seem dull and insignificant. But you have to always bear in mind that in order for you to sound similar to a researcher and look interested in your research, you have to at least design one strong research question. Well, the aspect of a research question here is, of course, built to be interpreted via data collection, meaning that when you are going to analyze the book or the story or the piece of information at hand, or maybe an article from a journal, if you are working on themes in civilization and culture, you are going, of course, to ask questions that will serve your research. You have to be aware and able to identify what questions you need to ask in order to answer your problem statement later. As any other procedure or process in research, formulating research questions needs practice, of course, but it is not that complicated. How to construct a research question. Guidelines for developing a research question. In order to formulate a good research question, we need to pose the question that begin with how, what, and why, and also to ask open-ended questions about our general topic and then try to specify them. Here you cannot, for example, ask questions that will answer yes no type of answers, because it will seem dull and very insignificant. You need to ask the what, the why, and the how in order for you to really investigate and do research. The way to evaluate your question, of course, should be based on some criteria similar to clarity, focus, and arguability. You need to know as a writer that your research question is clear. When you read it as a reader, as someone who has written it, you can identify and tell that this research question is clear and it's not complicated, dull, or ambiguous. Clear meaning, will the reader understand the nature of my research? This is what you should ask yourself. Will it direct the research being undertaken? Also, it needs to be focused on a specific information to explore, and it needs to be limited to a certain scope. You should not be turning around the bush. You should not be speaking or asking about things that are irrelevant. You need to be clear and focused. Also, it needs to be arguable in the way that you ask whether it is allowed for analysis. Is it allowed for development and evaluation? Is it okay with the question to be, does it reach the point of analysis? Does it reach the point of being assessed and evaluated? Most importantly, the research question must be complex as well and never simple. As I have mentioned, yes, no questions or answers, types of answer is not a very good way of asking or answering a question, because it will give the impression that you are not interested and you do not fully understand your research and your problematic. And this is why you have constructed a very dull and limited question. Of course, you must be concise and precise, and don't formulate a very long question that will mislead your reader and also mislead you as a researcher, and it will be impossible for you then to answer it properly and to cover the main points in the research. One thing that I have to remind you of is the fact that one of the research questions at least must reflect your topic, must reflect the title, where the keywords from the title and, for example, from the problem statement must show. If we take an example here, we have the 19th century Emily Dickinson selected poems, for example. You can ask, reflecting on the title and on the topic, why does Emily Dickinson discuss or mirror the themes of love and hate in her poems, in spite of her being so emotionally satisfied, for example? Or say, to what extent does the poem of John Milton reflect upon religious interpretations from Renaissance times? This is a kind of question that reflects the keywords in the title. You have to always pay attention to that. Here I have provided you, of course, with examples. You have the first example, regionalism and local color in Stephen Crane's The Red Badge of Courage. You have 3 questions, but they are somehow clear, but they don't reflect really basic ideas, because they are kind of repetitive if you read them thoroughly. With the second example, resisting stereotypes in Alice Walker's Meridian, we can see that the questions are well constructed, they are complex, they are concise, and of course they reflect the title and they give importance to the keywords. The types of research questions, of course, you have descriptive types where you are describing a study or describing a fact or an issue. You can have a relationship question where there is also always a relationship between two things. For example, you say, is there a relationship between this and that, and what type of relationship is forged between this writer and that writer, this character and that character. And also we have a difference question where you may spot the differences or try to find the differences between two things or between two individuals or groups. Moving on now to the purpose statement of research. Of course, it should be a statement as well, similar to the problem statement, and not just one or two sentences or maybe a few words. The purpose here asks the question why. Why do you think your study as a whole is important, and why do you think it should be conducted, and what is the goal of your study? For example, what is the goal of you working on Edgar Allan Poe's hatred in his poems? Why do you think it is? What is the purpose of you? What is the purpose? What is the goal that you want to show? What is the goal of your study? What is the point of you working on Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven? What do you want to show? In contrast, for example, the significance of the study is not the purpose of the study, because the purpose of the study helps solving the problem statement, and it shows you how to solve the problem that you have defined. Whereas the significance of the study here, you will be mentioning the reasons behind you thinking that your study is important and significant and must be investigated. For example, you can ask, why is my study important or valuable? Does it or will it revise, extend, or create new knowledge? How is it going to contribute in the literature review or the literature that has existed about any sort of topic that you choose? So why do you think your study is important and need to be studied? What are you going to add? Why do you think, for example, working on themes of madness in Hamlet is important? The theme of madness in Hamlet is important. Why do you think this is significant? And what are you going to add different to the studies before you? Well, this is all for now, my dear students. I'm sorry for the noise again. I hope you find this useful. If you have any question, please contact me before the exam day. I apologize also if you find this audio somehow long, but this is the only way I could record them. If you need to ask anything or comment on anything, please do not hesitate to tell me. I'll be pleased to answer you, inshallah. Thank you and good luck.